Hello, hello. Dot tuned in. So, I came to realize that I don't think I have ever made a tutorial on just creating your own halftones. And so here's what I do. I take a separation and, first, to begin with my separations, I would also include my registration marks, and color names and print sequence. So I have a registration mark in my libraries. I'll drop that on there. And select all to get my center line, drag from the rulers and create a guide there for me to put my registration mark. You can see the document's a little too small for my registration mark, and I just made that registration mark out of Illustrator for this purpose to show you guys in here, but it looks a little big. So I would come back into my Illustrator file and edit that, because resizing is not going to be great. It's destructive against your crop mark. You see there, the fuzzy interpolation there that's going on when you resize. That creates blurred edges. So I'm going to copy that, take it into a channel, and I'm going to use levels and adjust that to make it more solid. No gray areas in that. I just want that hard, solid black. Select it again. Go back into the layers. Put black in the foreground. That's going to be my registration mark that I would use. And I would bump that up a little bit to the top of the artwork. Select it again. Go into each color, hold down the shift key and click on each separation channel. And with the black in the foreground over here, I can type in Option Delete. And because you don't see it, because I've also got a white on the last color. So if I can hide that, it's still selected. But anyway, so what I do is then I will take all of those, hold down the shift key, type in M for my selection, and take that and hold down the Option key, Command key, and Shift. Shift key is going to drag it straight over to the left, straight over to the right. I have not released from the Option, Command, and Shift key. Now I just did. I released, and I'm going to grab this again and drag down straight down, holding down the Option, Shift, and Command key. So that puts those registration marks on every color. Now, while I still have every color selected, this is another thing I do, is I put in my colors. 1 base white, 2 yellow, red 185, 3, 4, blue 300, 5, black, 6, top white. And there you can actually also include information for the screen room, giving suggestions as to what screen mesh you had envisioned them using. You always want to make sure they're just suggestions, because they may feel they need to use something else, but you have to give them some kind of an idea of what you're thinking. Very high mesh, you want it to be print very thin. Let's say if I wanted a very washed out vintage look for this, I might tell them, give them unique instructions like I want a 300 mesh base on this. It's very different from what everybody else would do, of course, right? So if I did not say that, then they're going to put that on a 150 or a 230 by default. So that's why I like to give them an idea of what I'm intending. Sorry about that. I have allergies. So when you type that, you have to keep it live while you're typing, because unlike working in layers, when you type something out and you say, oh, I don't like that, I forgot, I need to add something else. Well, that's already committed. You can't go back and edit. It doesn't make it live type in channels. You can undo, and then here you see that was typed on every channel. Same thing here and there. But what I do is take all that out, go to the black, take the top white out, delete, just drag a little selection box over top of it. Black is in the foreground, you type in delete or backspace. Where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4. So delete that. Get into the red. So on to the yellow. And then down to the base. And then marquee those and just delete, delete, delete. And nothing else is in there. Cool beans. Sorry again. I don't get into editing my videos, so you kind of get what you get. You can always get your money back. And then I save, and so every color is going to print with registration marks. I'm going to edit this. This is too much big solid space to print, but I'm going to create new registration marks. I was trying something new. Now, when you're ready to convert to halftones, you delete your original artwork, your RGBs. Don't need those. Delete the shirt color, and then come to the flyout window, drag down to split channels. That creates an individual file of each color. First one, this started doing this only in the newer versions. For some reason it creates an extra, maybe that's the master file, don't know, but it's an empty space. So for the top white, you see it's all gray. I'm going to go to image mode bitmap. I'm now changing this to 600. Depending on your film printer, it could be 600, could be 1200. Change it from whatever's in the list here that you used last to halftone screen. But you want to, no matter what your art file size is, unless it's already 600, you want to make sure you change this to 600, because that's going to create tighter, smaller halftones, more accurate looking halftones because of the finer resolution. Click OK. Now you want to put in your LPI or your frequency. LPI is lines per inch. Let's say I would do this at 55, 22.5 screen angle, an elliptical dot. You see you got all these other options here. A lot of people use round, but I will tell you that elliptical dot looks better when it crosses over from 45 to 55 in the halftone range. And because elliptical dot helps merge that transition a little bit better because of the football shapes instead of the round dots. Round dots are going to end up with, at the 50% zone, basically a square grid looking shape dot, positive or negative. And so you want to use elliptical. It helps with the transition. Now, you might use round dot if you were going to extremely high resolutions, like printing out at maybe 85, 95, 100 line screen. And you might try round dot. That's that. So it's done it, and you see now you have your line pattern. And if you blow up at this, you see these little individual areas. This is why a rip is much better. It won't get you any better quality shaped dots, because that is dependent on your output device, whether it's CTS or film or laser. Laser is going to be better. I expect it to be. But the dot shapes that you hear, these little squares, that might be representing a 1%, and this is a 5%. Everything is output on a grid system, converted to black or white. So a gray tone, if you look at this, yeah, see? Let's convert one, and I'll put a little indicator as to where that's at, right there. And I'll go to image mode, bitmap, 600, halftone screen, 55, 22.5, and elliptical dot. I do it, zoom back up, and we can see about the shape that's going to make that area. So let's look at the percentage of that. If I read the percentage of that, it's telling me it's a 9% halftone. Out here on the edge, this is 4%, 2%. You see how it recognizes breaking this up into a grid. You can actually see the artwork broken up into a grid. So that whole square there is recognizing 6%. Move over to the next one, that's 4%. Go to image mode, bitmap, 600, bada boom, bada bing. Zoom back up on it, and that's what that area looks like when represented in halftone form at 600 resolution. 1200 resolution is going to make these squares half the size, so 50% reduction, because you've got more resolution, more square dots per square inch. So it's going to look a little cleaner, but they're still made up of these squares. So that's what your rip essentially does. But a rip, the math, the algorithms actually convert this over a lot smoother. So some areas will be formed better, recognized better than what you get out of Photoshop. But in a pinch, you can do your own halftones in Photoshop. So that's a 55 line screen. Now you can save this as a bitmap and place it into Illustrator or Corel and print it out. Prints out as a one color black. Or you can convert this back under mode to grayscale, and it'll ask you at what ratio. You want 1:1. So it's now saving this at 600 resolution as a grayscale instead of a bitmap. So there's a reason for that, because some, depending on what you want to do with it, you'll get more functionality out of it as a grayscale and PSD file instead of just a one color, one bitmap file. So then you go to File and Save As, and so on and so on. Go to the next color. See that area, image mode, bitmap, 600, same old thing. It'll have all the same information in there. So now, you see how these here start to transition? This is the 50% mark, I would imagine. Somewhere in this range. Yeah, 51, 53, right around in there. That's 52, 51, there's 51. Let me put a mark on that. Find it again. Looking for 51. There you go. So just want to show you what the round dot does. View up on that bad boy. And you can see these clear patterns where they start to become just an almost unwanted shape in there. Let's see if I can find a better area. Yeah, right about in there. Yeah, there's some 50% areas in there. But that's kind of the difference between round dot and elliptical dot. So elliptical is going to improve that just a hair. Not greatly, not a major difference, but at your lower line screen where your patterns are much larger, much more visible, it will help create a little bit of a smoother transition. So that's enough about that. But so again, once you've done your bitmap, make sure you go back under mode and change it to grayscale. Click OK, and then save it and give it a name. And save it into your folder. And then that way you can then place these into Illustrator or import into Corel. That's about it. I hope that helps. Thank you.